Also now here, what was it about? Because I also have to answer. Direct them under pain of contempt and pain of penalty. That is how a regulatory agency would do.
Mandated by various resolutions and circulars were never realized.
Mr. Chairman, I was mentioned as an idol. So may we know on what connection? By my idol also? One of the best performing members of the Quad Committee and also now here? What was it about? Because I also have to answer, the right to reply.
Mr. Chair, earlier, the Honorable Rodriguez manifested that the chairmanship of the board is allowed for foreign nationals. During his interpellation, it was likewise manifested that the chief technical officer was seemingly allowed by DOJ permits and other agencies' documentation. However, Mr. Chair, I am reminded by one important document that we are requesting from the NGCP, and that is the shareholders' agreement. I wish to humbly submit, Mr. Chair, that we will not be able to determine really whether the chairman exercised managerial and executive function and even the chief technical officer until and unless we see the shareholders' agreement. On this slide, Mr. Chair, this representation humbly move that we issue subpoena duces tecum to NGCP for them to submit the shareholders' agreement to this committee. So move, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, in addition to the motion, Mr. Chair?
May I just make a clarification? There was a subpoena duces tecum already issued to them in this regard, and their answer is there's another document I saw. But anyway, that I remember seeing that
I was present. I confirm that, Mr. Chairman. There was a subpoena issued on the
it
share
said here, signed by, sent January 22, signed by Cheryl Saldena de Leon, Corporate Secretary of Synergy Grid Development Philippines. We note that the first item under subpoena duces tecum, the shareholders agreement among SGP, OTHI, and P21 does not exist. Thus, no such document is in SGP's records. Maybe
Mr. Chairman, what we are asking is not the shareholders agreement between SGP and the NGCP. What we are asking is the shareholders agreement between NGCP and the State Grid of China. Yung pong hinihingi natin is State Grid of China.
Okay.
Para malaman po natin.
So there's a motion.
Agreement, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Para malaman lang po natin kung ano po nakalagay doon kung talagang kinokontrol ng Chinese yung kanila pong maintenance operation.
So is that correct?
That will be agreeable, Mr. Chair.
Yes, so that's the motion.
I recall, Mr. Chair, that both the chairman and the chief technical officer are both stockholders. So I wish to see as well from that document what participation do they have with respect to the management of the NGCP.
Okay, subpoena duces tecum on the motion of the Honorable Jinky Luistro, duly seconded by the Honorable Roger Gutierrez. The chair, no objections. Motion is approved. We now proceed.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Honorable Rufus
just like
Rodriguez.
to make some comments regarding the manifestation
Please.
of Congresswoman Luistro. It was stated that the NGCP, there was really no compliance of the order of the ERC and also the DOE for the audit. Is that correct? Congresswoman, yes.
I believe,
Yeah.
Honorable Rodriguez, that I read the title of the
Yes.
circular and the resolutions
Yes.
which I mentioned.
Yes. Yeah. Mr. Chairman, the ERC is the regulatory agency with all the powers to regulate NGCP. It's not a matter of they're not interested to have that implemented or the resistance, because it is the ERC who should have implemented it whether they like it or not. It is not the fault of NGCP that there was nothing done, because you are the regulator. Is that correct, Ms. De Malanta?
That's correct.
Yeah, you are. So therefore,
So,
the fact that continue, it's not the fault of NGCP. It is the ERC which has failed to implement it. And she was not yet the head at the time.
Chair Di Malanta,
Yeah.
please reply.
Mr. Chair, if I may reply. As recognized by the Honorable Representative, I am not able to explain why it was not implemented in 2016. But when a new performance assessment was organized by the DOE, and then we participated also because of the position of NGCP that only ERC is the one that they recognize. We participated and led the assessment, but still NGCP refused to provide those documents, and we have letters to show Mr. Chair that they refused. So, but we continued with the assessment.
Then you should direct them under pain of contempt and pain of penalty. That is how a regulatory agency would do.
We did, Mr. Chair.
If you're sleeping on the job, they have first a resistance and you will not insist. What kind of a regulatory agency are you? You have to do it.
Yes.
I'm
Mr.
glad that
Chair.
you are now there and you have already started that. And that is not their fault that 2016, 18, 19, 20, there was no systems audit because you did not insist. You have the full powers and yet you waive that power. So just that, Mr. Chairman, to put in the proper perspective, it could have been done. And we wish it will be done during your term. And let them not resist it. Otherwise, you penalize them. That is the power of the ERC. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mikey Romero, and thank you for coming to in today's hearing. You are truly missed. Okay. The chair now will recognize the Honorable Rufus Rodriguez. Silence is requested.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon to our distinguished colleagues, and likewise to our valued resource persons. I have just 4 points after hearing all the discussions. 2 would pertain to the Constitution. 1 is the quasi-judicial process of the ERC, and 3rd and 4th about some speculations. Let me start with the lower controversy. It has been, reported by the graphs and also from the reports from IMOP and also from Transco that because of the delay of the projects, our consumers are deprived of a lower cost of electricity. That has been pervasive in this discussion. That is speculative, Mr. Chairman, because there were delays, but there were reasons for the delays. And in fact, the DOE with our colleague has stated that indeed we cannot just directly attribute all the delays to NGCP because there are, like as I've stated in the previous hearing, the Mindanao Visayas interconnection, problems of a golf course, TRO in the Supreme Court, problems of the right of way in Lanao. So therefore, it's speculative that if the projects were already implemented, then it will result to a lower consumer payment of electricity. So that's the first one. The second one is about the ERC. Have you already issued a decision promulgated on the regulatory reset of NGCP?
Not yet, Mr. Chair.
Not yet. And yet we have here drafts of your decision. And I saw it, there are already signatures. And you publish that? My goodness, it is my first time as a practicing lawyer for 45 years that a quasi-judicial body will be publishing a decision, a draft decision, because precisely you are the ultimate decision maker and you are the regulatory agency. I cannot see any judge publishing what will be his decision and getting comments. Is not that that the procedure that should not be adopted? You collegially decide and then come out after all. There are parties. the applicant is NGCP, there are intervenors. So maybe know your answer.
Mr. Chair. Those were, the publication were part of the rules, and in fact, those rules were also subjected to public comments, and there were no oppositions to those steps. And Mr. Chair, just to clarify, this is not unique to NGCP. This is part of the rule-making process for regulated entities.
You know, I think you have to revisit your rules. Look at it now. It's being used. And practically, you'll be influenced when people will be knowing what you're going to decide on, and then be able to influence you. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We are open to influence by the public because that is the part of the process, Mr. Chair.
But other influences will not be from the public, but vested interests, Mr. Di Malanta. You see, there are some vested interests who are interested, in fact, in the NGCP franchise. So therefore, you know, if you are a judicial body, you're just like a judicial body, and you should should not be announcing everything first before your final decision, because after the final decision, there can be the motion for reconsideration. So that is my take as far as your rules of procedure are concerned. Next, Mr. Chairman. We go now. So first, we have already, in the last hearing, it was clearly established NGCP had paid all the taxes. It has paid all the taxes. BIR states so, ERC states so. Second, the NGCP has complied with for the franchise section on public ownership. They listed a company which has 30% ownership there, corporation already listed. So the second issue, clearly, the NGCP has rightly and fulfilled their obligations in the Section 8 and then Section 7 on taxes. Third, cross-ownership. Clearly, ERC Chairperson Mona said that, you know, the prohibition against cross-ownership had already been amended by the franchise of NGCP. Now I go to new issues. Now, the next issue is, already in the last hearing, the SEC has already come out with an opinion that chairmen who are foreigners, like in this case, a Chinese is a chairman, has no violation of the constitutional provision under Article 15 that it says there that executive and managerial positions are reserved to Filipinos. Clearly, the chairmanship is not a violation if you have a Chinese or any other foreign individual. Now, what's being brought here is that the chief technical officer. Question to SEC. Are technical officers executive or managerial positions violating the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. As to the duties of the Chief Technical Officer, it would largely depend on what is written in the bylaws of NGCP.
NGCP, did you not examine that and then you had a big decision? And you have certified that there's no violation?
We have no certification that NGCP has not violated any constitutional provision. If I have to manifest that. What I have stated in the last hearing is based on an opinion by the SEC that was issued before, stating that chairman of the board may be a foreign national, but it has to be qualified that his duties will be limited to that of a presiding officer in board meetings.
That's correct. NGCP, okay. Oh, you have secured all the approvals of this chief technical officer. Can you tell us which agencies has approved and has now no objection to your appointment of a chief technical officer who is a Chinese?
Mr. Chairman, the chief technical, well, all our technical officers at that time had to go through a gamut of applications for work permits and visas, work visas. We first go to the DOE to get their endorsement, and they will endorse the application to the DOJ, and the DOJ will cascade that application to the
To get that endorsement from DOE?
And then the BID, after yes, yes, yes.
Yes, for the record, the DOE endorsed your application, endorsed that position to be held by a Chinese, and then you can now go to the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Immigration, which I headed during the time of President Estrada.
Yes, yes, Mr. Chairman. That's the procedure. And then they evaluate the functions that the technical personnel will be performing, and if they are indeed technical in nature, they will issue the permit for the technical personnel.
And were they issued permits from the Bureau of Immigration and the Department of Justice?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
For nobody has questioned these decisions of the agencies that are really looking into whether a position holder violates the Constitution or not. There was now no adverse decision of all the agencies of the government.
Not that we recall, Mr. Chairman.
Was there, because you supervise corporations, was there a complaint of any person against the chief technical officer holding this position that it violates the law?
As of this moment, Mr. Chair, there is no filed complaint regarding that matter, Mr. Chair.
And so therefore, once again, I'm saying that there is no violation at all. And so, chairman can be a foreigner, chief technical officer can be a foreigner. Now, it's clear. Now, let's go to the most basic, the most important constitutional, what pervades the Constitution, and that is national security, Mr. Chairman. It is not mentioned in the Constitution, but in every section, every article of the Constitution, always national security. What is there is national territory, national development, and all of this. So then we go now to the issue of the Chinese with the NGCP. Okay. So now, you stated, Attorney Sagayo, that indeed you have a memorandum of agreement between you and NICA, correct? And NICA, Mr. Chairman, is the primary intelligence gathering and analysis of arm of the Philippine government, carrying out three functions: overt, covert, clandestine intelligence operations. So we have to find out on this issue of national security, which is brought about during the last hearing and then now, that the Chinese are there, and therefore there is this is a question of national security because the Chinese interferes with the NGCP, interferes in its operations, its decision making, and therefore if they are there, it therefore creates a problem on national security, and which all of us Filipinos will be against if there is any foreign power that will therefore make, decide on the fate of Filipinos. We will know now whether this particular, has the NICA found any violation of NGCP in relations to these Chinese being there as technical or as board directors?
Before you answer, your 5 minutes up, but we will give you an extension because you're also a senior citizen.
Yes, I invoke
Okay,
that because
okay.
otherwise there will be no equal protection of the laws.
Okay.
If you are going to
Proceed.
give
We will extend.
Paulson Marcoleta, not me. Thank you for the
Okay.
3 minutes.
Thank you.
Otherwise, you violate the Constitution.
Mr. Chairman, please.
Please, attorney.
No finding of any violation by
Eh?
NICA. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And since when did you have this memorandum allowing NICA to really go into the operations, go into the your distribution system and the influence of the Chinese in the NGCP? When did you have that NICA agreement?
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Prior to this administration, we had been allowing NICA, ISAF to inspect our facilities. During this administration of President Marcos, we entered into a memorandum of agreement with NICA. And also during this administration, we allowed them, Mr. Chairman, to hold office in NGCP. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So you're saying
Proceed.
that NICA, Mr. Chairman, can I proceed? You're saying that the NICA is holding office right there in your premises.
That's what I said, Mr. Chairman.
Wow. And
Thank you.
also, you mentioned about the ISAP. Do you have also agreements with the armed forces of the Republic of the Philippines?
Mr. Chairman, with respect to the armed forces of the Philippines, we have agreements in the local level with respect to the protection of our facilities. And we also have an agreement with the armed forces of the Philippines with respect to reservists. We have reservists who are employees of NGCP who committed themselves to protect the transmission facilities. And Attorney Samboy here is a lieutenant colonel, of the reserve forces of the armed forces of the Philippines. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, in all the operations from the time you started in 2008 up to now, has there been any derogatory report and you have been asked by the NICA, the armed forces, and all the intelligence bodies here that you have to be, you know, there are violations in terms of possibility. We're talking about possibilities. Possibility of interference by these Chinese who are always intruding illegally in our West Philippine Sea, and which the Chinese has lost all 8 points in the International Arbitral Tribunal in Den Haag. Was there any to alert you? Because the NICA is the primary intelligence gathering and analysis of our country. Was there anything from the time you operated up to now that NICA has called your attention to violations?
Mr. Chairman, there's none. We haven't received any notice from NICA, from ISAF, that we are violating security measures and laws. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And my final question is to the President Anthony Almeida. You're under oath. Where is Anthony?
Mr. Almeida, please take your respective seat. I think he went to the restroom.
Yeah. Do you assure this august committee on franchise, with our distinguished members here present and the valued resource persons, can you state you're under oath that there is no possibility of interference from the Chinese in our operation, especially in the supply of electricity in this country, which was also stated by the chairman, no less than Henry C. Sr., that there is no possibility at all, and everything is fake news that the Chinese can interfere and can black out the entire country. Can you say that categorically, unequivocally?
Mr. Almeida, you're under oath.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, there is no possibility that, as far as I'm concerned, as a Filipino citizen and as a reserve also of the armed forces, I categorically say that there's no possibility, Mr. Chair, that the Chinese can,
Thank you. And with that, Mr. Chairman, it is clear that the NGCP has not violated any constitutional provision, and even the principles underlying the Constitution. Number two, Mr. Chairman, it has clearly followed all the provisions of its franchise. Third, all that they have done has been approved by the ERC. The pass-on of the franchise tax and all the cross ownership and also the public offering. So, Mr. Chairman, I do not see how we can continue with this hearing when there are no violations. Mr. Chairman, that is my question.
Thank you.
Would you again want to go delve on that when clearly the constitutional issues, the franchise issues, the speculations, Mr. Chairman, I think we should already adjourn and let's go to face what are the important bills of our country, like my intelligence bills, my anti-espionage bills, because that will increase the penalties of spies.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Rufus Rodriguez.
Mr. Chair.
Like I said, this is an inquiry, and not because there is a franchise violation, because that is for the committee to make, Congressman Rufus, and not solely within your authority. Okay? That is a collective decision. So, hindi nyo kayang decisionan ho kung may franchise violation. But again, We're looking at how to bring down the prices of electricity, and we will continue to do so until we're able to achieve that goal. Now,
Mr. Chair. Ay.
the USEC Janet Garin is
Sharon, sir.
recognized.
Sharon.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The better Garin. Okay. Okay. No, USEC Sharon Garin is recognized.
Mr. I just wanted to clarify lang, ang records ng DOE on the approvals of the, yung mga magtatrabaho na foreigners, we have from 2018 to 2024, there are directors, senior technical advisor, but we don't have the record of the individual that you are looking for. But maybe if there's such a claim, because that's way back for us, baka pwedeng i-provide lang ng NGCP kung that's the claim, Mr. Chair, because we don't have it in DOE, Mr. Chair.
Much. Attorney Matibag.
Mr. Chair, gusto ko lang pong ilatag sa committee, the last hearing that we have in the Senate, chaired before by the chairman of Energy and Senate, Senator Win Gatchalian, kasi pina-under oath kanina si President Almeda na hindi possible, na may attacks, gano'n. I think if we will review the transcript of that hearing, he admitted that
Mr. Chairman,
NGCP
point of order. Can a fellow resource person ask or
I'm not
comment on the question? Can he cross-examine a fellow?
No. He is not, Honorable Mikey, he is not, because I acknowledge him and for him to state his opinion. May I know what happened to that hearing?
Well,
I was about to ask that
trying to
question.
give something kung ayaw niyong marinig ng...
Yes, go ahead,
I will not
please.
speak.
Please. Ano yun?
Nag-hearing kasi noon, chaired by, that was the last hearing that we had. That was...
Anong sinabi
Sinabi niya na...
Point of order,
everyday-
Mr. Chairman. Ayun, Melvin.
Attorney Matibag, pwede ba tapusin na ho
Di ba po,
natin?
Mr. Chair, we are here to find the truth.
Yes, correct.
I'm
Go
here
ahead.
as a citizen also.
Okay. Proceed. Please proceed.
I'm not for China, I'm for Philippines.
Okay, go ahead.
Witch
Okay.
hunting here.
So what was said?
Don't want to witch hunt
So
here.
for
We are
the...
not with
One
something.
specific company.
I'm stating a fact. You review the Senate
The facts are very clear. I tell you,
Order.
whatever is stated in the Senate is not here. It's what is stated here.
He
Yes,
was
okay.
under oath when he made that statement.
Correct.
We are now in Congress, in the House of Representatives.
Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if you don't
Yes.
want to hear me,
Again,
I will keep quiet.
like I said, I'm asking you to continue. What was said? Quiet, please.
He stated that NGCP is suffering an attack every day.
Okay.
And
Mr. Chair,
From
may I
where?
be recognized?
From where?
Kung saan-saan. Maraming yung cyber attack.
Okay. So yun ang issue.
Yun yung sinasabi ko kasi based doon sa sinasabi, under oath, wala, hindi pwede.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, may
Okay,
I be
thank you very
recognized?
much. Attorney, sundin lang po ha. I will acknowledge you. Lakas ka lang. Okay? So I will, Attorney Matibag, are you done? Have you said your piece?
Okay na po, kasi
Let it be
baka
said,
magalit po yung mga abogado.
Hindi. Okay. Abogado ka rin naman eh. Okay. So pare-pareho kayo abogado. Yun ang mahirap pag maraming abogado. Attorney. Okay.
Mr. Chair, thank you.
Yes.
I think Mr. Matibag and I were at that same hearing.
Okay.
And I'd just like to clarify the statement made was cyber attacks on our IT, our corporate system.
Okay.
Our corporate system, unlike our operating system, is indeed connected to the internet. And like any other corporate network, it is subject to periodic attempts. However, thankfully, and I am knocking on wood here, we have not had a breach of our IT for our corporate network. As opposed to our operating network, the one that runs the transmission system, we again emphasize that this is a closed system, disconnected by default from the internet. So there are no cyber attacks possible on the operating network, the OT. Yung IT po, ang binanggit ni Mr. Almeda at that time, and just to put into context what he said, we do suffer certain attempts, but we have been able thus far to repel all those attempts, even though there are certain periods, marami talaga siya.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you,
Paro po
Mr.
yan.
Chair.
So, I'm sure Attorney Matipag will stand by what he said and what he heard during that hearing. So we will try to get the transcript there. So,